I don't know why you left me. Not in the dramatic way people say it when they already know the answer. I mean it in the most broken, honest sense of the sentence. I replayed everything, every word, every pause, every smile that lasted a second too long, and every silence that stayed longer than it should have. Still, I don't know. The last day we talked felt normal. That's what hurts the most. No warning, no storm, no final argument to blame everything on. Just a normal day that quietly became the end of my world. You laughed. I remember that clearly. Your laugh didn't sound like someone preparing to leave. It sounded like someone who planned to stay. That's the cruelest trick love ever played on me. When you disappeared, I didn't panic at first. I told myself lies that sounded reasonable. They're busy, they need space. This doesn't mean anything. Hope is very convincing when it's scared, but days passed, then nights, and slowly I realized something terrifying. You weren't coming back. Not because you couldn't, but because you didn't want to. I checked my phone more times than I want to admit, not for messages, for signs, a scene, a reaction, anything that would tell me I still existed in your world. Silence answered every time. I never thought they die in 5 oh this in high die they die in 5 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 this in high die. Absence could feel this heavy. It wasn't empty, it was loud. Your absence screamed every question. You refused to answer. I asked myself what I did wrong. That question became my punishment. Was I too much? Too emotional? Too available? Did I love you in a way that scared you? Or was I not enough? The worst part wasn't missing you, it was missing the version of me that existed when you cared. I was softer then, hopeful, certain that love, when given honestly, always returned. You proved me wrong without saying a single word. I remembered all the promises you never made. Funny how we build futures on assumptions, not words. You never said you'd stay forever. You never said you wouldn't leave, but you let me believe. And belief, when shattered, cuts deeper than lies. People told me to move on, as if love is a switch, as if I could unfeel the way my heart recognized you as home. They didn't understand something important. You didn't just leave my life. You left a silence that replaced my peace. Some nights I blamed myself. Other nights I blamed you. Most nights I blamed love. itself. Why does love always leave the person who feels the deepest holding the pieces? I imagined confronting you, asking the questions I deserved, answers to why did you stop choosing me? Why didn't I deserve honesty? Why was disappearing easier than explaining? But deep down, I knew if you wanted to explain, you would have that realization hurt more than any truth you could have spoken, because it meant I mattered less than comfort, less than awkward conversations, less than responsibility. I started noticing things I ignored before. How I always texted first, how I adjusted my needs so you wouldn't feel pressured, how I accepted crumbs and called it love. I didn't lose you. I lost myself trying to keep you. The day I finally cried wasn't dramatic. No rain, no background music. Just me, alone, realizing that the person I was waiting for no longer existed, or maybe never did. I whispered your name out loud once. It sounded strange, like a memory pretending to be real. That's when it hit me. I wasn't missing you anymore. I was missing who I thought you were. Still, I don't know why you left me. And maybe that's the hardest truth. Some people leave without reasons that make sense to the ones they abandon. I loved you without conditions, without safety nets, without backup plans, and maybe that was my mistake. But if loving deeply is wrong, then I'd rather be broken than empty. After you left, I started seeing you everywhere. Not in faces exactly, but in habits, gestures, moments. Someone laughed the way you used to, and my heart reacted before my mind could stop. Someone typed a sentence the way you did, and for one stupid second, I thought it was you. That's the cruel part about loving deeply. Love doesn't leave when people do. I told myself I was fine. I became very good at saying that I'm fine, I'm okay. It doesn't matter anymore. Lies sound convincing when you repeat them enough. But at night, when the world went quiet, the truth came back louder than ever. I missed you in ways that didn't make sense anymore. I missed telling you small things, not the big emotional confessions, just the ordinary stuff. What I ate, something funny I saw, a random thought that didn't matter to anyone else. You were the person I shared my nothing with, and when you left, even nothing felt heavy. I tried to replace you. I hate admitting that, but it's true. Not because I wanted someone else, but because I didn't want to feel this alone. I talked to new people, smiled at new conversations, pretended to be interested. But every time someone got close, I compared them to you, and they always lost. That's when I realized something terrifying. You didn't just leave my life. You changed the way I love. Before you, love felt safe. After you, love felt temporary. I became cautious. I measured my words, held back feelings, kept exits ready just in case. You taught me how much it hurts to be abandoned without explanation, and now I protect myself in ways I never wanted to learn. Some days I blamed myself again. I replayed memories like evidence in a trial where I was both the judge and the accused. If only I had said less. If only I had asked for less. If only I had been easier to love. But love shouldn't require shrinking, and yet I did. Other days, anger replaced sadness. How could you leave two like that? How could you pretend everything was fine while planning your disappearance? Did you ever think about how I'd feel? Or was I just a chapter you closed when the story bored you? That anger scared me because it meant you still mattered. Indifference would have been easier. I dreamed about you sometimes, not dramatic dreams, just normal ones where you were still there. Those dreams hurt more than nightmares because waking up meant losing you all over again. I wondered if you missed me, even once, even briefly, even in the quiet moments when no one was watching. Did you ever think I shouldn't have left like that? Or was I erased as easily as I was abandoned? I checked your social presence less over time, not because it stopped hurting, but because I couldn't keep reopening wounds that refused to heal. Watching you live without me felt like proof that I never mattered as much as you mattered to me. The hardest realization came slowly. You didn't owe me love forever, but you owed me honesty. And you chose silence instead. That silence became the answer to every question I asked. Why you left, why you didn't explain, why you never came back. Silence is a decision, and you made it still. Some part of me kept hoping, not for your return, but for closure. A message, a sentence, anything that would make it all make sense. But closure never came, and I learned something painful. Sometimes you have to close doors without knowing why they were opened in the first place. I started rebuilding myself quietly, not healed, just functioning. I learned to sit with loneliness instead of running from it. I learned that missing someone doesn't mean you should go back to them. I learned that love isn't proven by how much pain you can endure. You left a scar, not an open wound. It still aches sometimes, but it no longer controls me. If you ever read this, I don't want an apology. I don't want explanations anymore. I just want you to know this. I loved you honestly. I stayed loyal even in absence. I broke, but I didn't become bitter. And that says more about me than your silence ever said about you. I still don't know why you left me, but I finally know this. Your leaving was not my failure, and attachment is normal, right? But attachment doesn't make you rehearse conversations in your head. It doesn't make you read between every line. It doesn't make your mood rise and fall based on someone else's availability. What I felt was deeper. I needed you, not because you asked me to, but because my world had quietly rearranged itself around you, and that terrified me. So I became careful. I stopped saying certain things. I stopped asking certain questions. I stopped expressing certain emotions. Not because I didn't feel them, but because I didn't want to risk you. Every time I felt hurt, I told myself it wasn't worth bringing up. Every time I felt insecure, I blamed myself for being weak. Every time I wanted reassurance, I swallowed the need and called it maturity, because in my mind, honesty had consequences, and the consequence I feared most was losing you. I watched how easily people leave each other in this world, how disposable connections have become, how quickly affection turns into silence, and I promised myself I wouldn't be the reason you walked away, so I became adaptable. If you needed space, I gave more than you asked for. If you pulled back, I pretended not to notice. If you changed, I adjusted. I told myself this was love, but love shouldn't feel like constant self monitoring. Still, I stayed quiet because the truth was ugly and I didn't know how to say it without sounding like a burden. You mattered more to me than I wanted to admit, and that imbalance scared me. There were nights I wanted to say, please don't leave, but I never did, because begging for someone to stay feels like already losing. So instead, I stayed composed, understanding, supportive, the version of me that was easiest to keep. I didn't realize then that in trying not to lose you, I was slowly losing myself, learning to breathe without fear. There is a moment when fear stops protecting you and starts controlling you. I didn't recognize that moment. At first, it looked like patience. It felt like loyalty. It sounded like maturity. But inside, it was anxiety wearing a calm face. I was constantly preparing for your absence even while you were still there. That's not love, that's survival. I realized this the day I caught myself minimizing my own pain just to keep the peace. I thought if I don't ask for much, I won't be disappointed. If I don't expect consistency, I won't feel abandoned. If I don't show vulnerability, I won't be rejected. But living that way is exhausting. And one day, I was too tired to pretend. This is the confession I never had the courage to say before. I was afraid that if I showed you how deeply I cared, you'd feel trapped. I was afraid that if I admitted how important you were, you'd pull away. I was afraid that my feelings were heavier than what you could carry, so I carried them alone. I became emotionally self sufficient in public and emotionally overwhelmed in private. That duality broke something in me. I started to ask myself questions I avoided for too long. Why does love feel like a risk instead of a refuge? Why does honesty feel dangerous? Why am I afraid to be replaceable? And the hardest realization came quietly. If someone can leave because you expressed your I felt it before I understood it, your replies became softer, not colder, just lighter, less attached. You were still kind, still present, but you were no longer held, and that terrified me because I could feel the shift, the invisible line between wanting and needing, between choosing and enduring. I started replaying everything in my head. Did I say too much? Did I expect too much? Did my love feel like pressure? I told myself I was overthinking, but deep down I knew the truth. Love that asks for ownership slowly, teaches the other person to crave freedom, and freedom always finds a way. I watched you grow quieter, more careful with your words, as if you were afraid of reassuring me too much, afraid of giving me hope I'd cling to. That realization broke something in me. I never wanted to be someone you had to manage emotionally. I never wanted to be the person whose love felt heavy, but fear makes you blind. I started noticing how often I asked questions that weren't really questions. They were requests for certainty disguised as curiosity. How much do I matter to you? Would you stay? Do you ever think about leaving? I wasn't asking to understand you. I was asking to calm myself. And that's when I realized something devastating. I wasn't loving you anymore. I was trying to secure you. I was fighting an invisible competition against a future that hadn't even arrived yet. Every version of your life that didn't include me felt like a threat. And that's not love, that's fear trying to survive. I wanted to freeze time, to lock us into the moment where I still felt chosen. But love doesn't live in cages, it lives in trust. And I didn't trust that I would still matter if you grew. That insecurity wasn't your responsibility, it was mine, letting you be free even if it hurts. The hardest lesson love ever taught me was this: you don't prove love by holding on tighter, you prove it by letting go of control. Letting you be free didn't happen in one brave moment. It happened slowly, painfully, with resistance. I had to unlearn the idea that love means permanence.